Greetings, my name is Nathan and I will be your guide for this world tour of music. Grab your guitar and pocket your passport. We're off to Sweden to spend a little time with David Henriksson and learn more about electric blues. Growing up in Sweden, David was heavily influenced by American roots music played on electric guitar, especially the blues. In 2017, he made the move to Nashville and has since made a name for himself as both a session player and solo artist, performing at the Ryman and the Grand Ole Opry and playing with several Grammy-award winning artists. Ready to disembark? Grab your guitar and let's dig in with David.
So one segment was about double stops, and I use that a lot in my playing, but sometimes it's fun to take another step, adding one more note, doing a triple stop or a triad. I would refer to this, when we're talking about this triad, as more or less just a major or minor triad, just like an A major and A minor. If I talk about triple stops, it might be voicings that are something different than just a major or minor triad. I try to keep those things separated to make it clear for you guys. And we're going to do this performance later in the key of A, so I'll talk about this around the key of A. And one thing that I like to do, I'm talking about mapping out things, and we talk about the triads that we can find in the A mixolydian mode. We're going to play an A7 thing, so we can't do just the regular A major. It's going to sound weird. Now we can find over the top three strings, A major. It will sound very sweet and inside. This will give a lot of coloration. We'll have the 9th and the 13th and the 11th there, more or less see it as the upper extensions. This could be cool, but we want to resolve this down very soon, most of the time. Next would be this, which is actually, well, a C# diminished triad, but it's also part of an A7. This is a little bit more stable. This will really sound like an D with an A bass note. If we take the next chord, when we harmonize this scale, it's an E minor, and that will give us the sound of part of an A ninth. If we take it up the next, it's going to be an F# minor, and that is part of an A sixth chord. Next, after F# minor, it's G major triad. and that's part of this like A 11th chord. So many of these actually are really useful. Say especially if I take it down like this. Let's use this string set instead. A, G, F sharp minor, E minor. There's 4 in a row that are kind of inside sounding, just creating an A major triad, the A 11th sound, the A 6th sound, the A 9th sound, and then the other, like the D and the B minor, sound a little bit, adds even more coloration. I wouldn't keep those very long. And then we have this, that's kind of the C sharp diminished triad. That's just part of an A7. So more or less 5 out of these 7 ones really adds an A color or an A flavor to it, different textures. And what I've been experimenting with a little bit as well is just changing one of these notes. So say I do this. Let's do it on these 3 strings now, just for the sake of it. And I change this, the highest note, I bring it up there. Then we actually get the F sharp minor triad. But say if I would bring that down instead, that would be quite dissonant here. But if you use it just for a little bit, that's kind of a cool thing when you get that thing going, as long as you resolve it. Very useful in rhythm playing, I'd say, but also if you're doing more chordal stuff in a soloing context, I would use those things. So if you would do that up the scale as a little bit of an exercise, this is our starting point. We take it up on the B string, back, and then down. You can do this, which we wouldn't reuse this, but around this we can find this, which is our A 9th or A 11th sound rather. Next would be up here. So maybe you use this, like, I wouldn't call these triads, but that's more kind of the triple stops. You start with a triad, and then you get these other voicings, and sometimes it's stuff that I've mapped this out and really figured out these things I wouldn't really use, and these are actually stuff that I find tasteful in certain contexts. And sometimes it could be just, you can move the middle note as well. You get different textures there as well, or you can move the lower note. Bit of a stretch there. And you'll start hearing these melodies that you can use on certain strings. Sometimes, usually if you do it on the higher string, it will cut through a little bit better. And if you combine this with like an open string that rings along, you can do really cool stuff. Say would you use this start with a G major triad over the A root note. So then I'm also letting the high E ring along her. Or even the F sharp minor. Or you can do these more or less, or actually chromatic passages where you play A flat very briefly to G, F sharp minor very briefly, F minor to E minor, There will be moments there was like, what's going on? Ah, he landed. Oh, what's going on? He landed, right? So you'll get these like back and forth between the tension and the release. And that's what we're working a lot with here. One other thing that's cool, I'm going to bring that up in the performance as well, just finding these like minimal movements where you can, over an A chord, and if you start playing this, you'll get an F sharp minor there. If you just lower this and go to the C note, you get this, which works well over the D7, so over A, over D, and over the E, you can do. So you can do the same like melodic line, but over a different harmonic context below the. I think that's a cool way of using that as well. And I used to try to find a mutual, one or two notes that work with both chords, where I'm going from and where I'm coming from and where I'm going to. So you can more or less keep the same line if you want to, and it will work over both chords, or you will just modify it slightly. Like these two notes are the same, but then I change that, and it works over a totally different chord. So that's a few different approaches. Again, try to make it your own. Start with just a simple triad. Move one of the notes back and forth in the scale, or even chromatically can be a cool thing. And you'll start finding some new voicings that hopefully your ear will either like or not like, but sometimes you'll find stuff that you don't like, and that's a good reference point as well. Okay, then you won't have to use that. So experiment with it, and have fun as always, and try to make it part of your playing in whatever way you can.